Or you actually might already be there. All right, so we are. View the post on Restream. Okay.
Oh, I can see it.
Oh. All right, so we'll just keep you here because I'm like, that's not how I want to start, but that's fine. We can start on the 2 pages. No big deal. No big deal at all. All right. Well, hello, everyone. I am Kendra Porter, and I am the stylist for Honor Your Style. Welcome to another Sunday Style. I am here with Tara Mazanec, and she and I met just actually this weekend. We were both panelists on a conference for IWBCC, which is the International Women's Build Confidence Conference held by Dr. Alana DeGrassa. And so we connected, and I wanted to bring her on because I think she has so much to say. Just a quick bio about Tara. Tara is a personal trainer and holistic health counselor and yoga instructor. She has nearly 2 decades of experience coaching people on how to take command of their wellness. She helps clients analyze their current lifestyles by identifying poor wellness patterns and then helping them create new habits. This method, really, she's kind of she's put people in a place to be their own, what she calls CHO, which is their chief health officer, and they can take command of their wellness to form a sustainable, healthy lifestyle. So Tara, welcome so much. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thanks. This is so exciting. Thanks, Kendra, for this opportunity.
No, absolutely. Thank you. So anybody, if you can't hear us, if there are any technical difficulties, we are working with new platforms today. So please put us in the comments and let us know if there's anything that's coming across or you can't hear or any of that. We'd love to see you and hear it from you. And let's get started. So Tara, talk to a little about kind of sort of your background, what you do, and we can go from there.
Sure. So I have been a trainer for a long time, and I actually originated in accounting. So I graduated college with an economics degree, which is so irrelevant where I am. So I really loved wellness. I actually was pre-med for a few years, and I actually loved the idea of helping people from a hospital setting, but I actually thought it was more of a reactive care. As much as I love doctors and nurses, it just wasn't me. So I entered into wellness really by default. I loved working with people and helping them really just take charge of their wellness and to feel energized and to feel fit. That was back in maybe the early 2000s. And here we are in 2020. And I'm still just as passionate about it today as I was when I first started. Even more so because I think we're all dealing with a lot of challenges and a lot of stressors right now.
Right.
And, we're all aging. Some just started before me. But I always like to say we are all aging, but we don't have to age poorly. Mm-hmm. We can age with strength and confidence and courage and really be super fit for what that means to each of the individual.
Right. And I think that's one of the things that, when we were talking over the weekend and at the conference, you talked about aging strong, right? And what does that look like? And what does that mean? And to me, that resonated with me. One, because I am getting older, right? But also looking at people who are living well past, right? Well, at one point we used to think 40s was older. And then I got to my 40s and realized it's not that old. I'm still quite young. But really, right? I look at my parents and they're actually in their 80s now, late 70s and 80s. But life is so much longer, and where you want to be at that period and point in your life and the lifestyle that people live now in their 70s and 80s is very, very different. Do you want to talk a little bit about that for us?
It's funny you say that because I'm really a big kid and I'm such a kid at heart. And my number one phrase I always say in my mind is don't give up on growing up. I just love being active. And, it doesn't have to be like an organized routine that you do every single day. Mm-hmm. I just love moving and feeling what my body can accomplish from just moving. And when my body feels energized and feels strong, I feel confident. I feel focused. I have more clarity. And it carries me through the day. And it helps me get through a lot of challenges, especially being a mom of 2 and being home now and training all my clients virtually, just having to make that shift, like many of us on the call probably have, that piece has always stayed with me. That piece of just caring for myself and feeling energized through fitness and through wellness really has helped me to move through these challenges with, I can't say every day is a great day because listen, we all lose our minds at some point, but this, wellness has really helped me just feel more in command with what's going on when we feel so out of control with things that we don't have control over.
Right. So, when I look at it and, we're in this era of COVID and we're in, being quarantined and what that looks like. And people are now, switching. They're like, oh, well, now I've got more time. I should be exercising or I should be moving, but I'm not. We were on the conference pretty much almost all day yesterday, on Zoom calls, and they're sitting so much more, You're no longer in your office, moving from your office to somebody else's or walking down the hall or doing any of those things. And I think that really challenges your body because now you're sitting at home in front of your desk, in front of a computer, nonstop. And I see so many people who have been home working, and it's just the dynamic is so different, and it's so much more taxing on the body, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. It is. And I walked everywhere from clients' house to the boutique gyms that I trained to the other big gyms that I was training at. And I was walking all over the city. And now to be training and just sitting here like this, training people virtually was completely out of my comfort zone. Mm-hmm. I just love movement. Not so much organized exercise every day of the week. I love organized exercise. But to me, it was the daily movement that I was craving. And when I say organized exercise, I mean having a workout routine that you've planned, maybe on a Sunday or a Saturday, and it's scheduled all week. I'm talking about just daily activity, walking from here and there or getting up early and going for a morning jog. Those are the kinds of things that I just was craving. And I noticed that I was sitting a lot more because I was training clients. So I figured, okay, if I'm going to be sitting a lot more, then I have to really just move my body. And maybe I stand up during some of these sessions that I'm having. If I'm working with a group, maybe I shut my camera off a couple of times and just do some stretching, just really bringing your arms up and moving your body, pulling your chest forward and your shoulders back and just adding more movement. So your body just feels like it's not so stiff. And I know so many people are working in front of computers that it's really challenging.
No, for sure. Do you think, is there a rhythm? Is there a way to, that you think is most productive in terms of time and where we are now? Do you do that on the hour, Because I know for me, once I start working and I'm in work mode, I can just go and go and go unless I have to go to the bathroom. Or unless my phone rings, I won't stop. I'll just continue and I'll knock it out. So for me, it becomes the challenge of getting out of my zone. And then I also don't want to get out of my zone, I know that this is once I start and I'm there, if I stop, the concern's always am I going to get back into the same zone and same that? So are there ways to be able to do that or to time yourself or to say, every hour, every couple hours? I mean, what's ideal in terms of movement for people now?
So as you were talking, I was thinking back to my daily routine, and I will tell you there's a couple of tips that I have to share. One is when you get out of bed in the morning, providing there's nobody else in it still sleeping, you have to make your bed because that is the first piece of success that you can have throughout the day. So you make your bed and then you commit to some sort of movement for 10 minutes, whether it's a yoga flow or stretching or, just doing squats or push-ups, something very basic that you can do first thing in the morning. Because as your day goes along, there are interruptions and there's distractions and you're less likely to commit to 45 minutes, as you say, if you're in the flow of something more creative. So that's two tips. Make your bed first thing and get in some kind of activity first thing in the morning. The third tip is you have to set a timer. You will be more creative if you let your body move during that period of work than if you were just to sit there for 5 hours. Your body wants movement and craves movement. So if you're sitting there for 3 hours, you're actually less creative mentally then if you were to set a timer, every hour you get up and you move for 5 minutes. You walk around your house because we can't really go a lot of places right now.
Right.
You walk around your house, do jumping jacks, or you do modified jumping jacks, maybe some squats, maybe push-ups off your counter if you can't do them on the floor. But you have to move. And you maybe do that 3 or 4 times a day so that you're committed to something where the timer goes up. You get up and you walk around. So at least if you can't get that organized exercise routine in for a solid 45-minute period straight, then at least you have 3 segments of 5 or 10 minutes throughout your day.
Gotcha. So, I think that's, for me, easier said than done. I will not lie. I will not lie. I think definitely because of where we are in the state that we're in, I at least try and do it every other day, is to try and actually get outside, right? Like, because I'm working and I'll go through these moments of nonstop work. I'll then want to be like, okay, now I need to be outside. I need some vitamin D, right? The sun's now out, right? There's random, at least in New York, there was, random snow that we had last week, in May. But, trying to get outdoors, trying to be outside, getting that sun so that I stay energized and have that movement, definitely makes me feel a whole lot better. I think, I used to joke about having SAD, seasonal affect disorder, because I'm a completely different person when the sun is out.
Yes.
And so I thrive off of that energy. And then I also try and get down by the water. So for me, I'm down over by the huts. I'm actually 15 minutes away from bodies of water in all directions, luckily enough. So I try and get by the water so that I can really enjoy, right, nature and the scenery and kind of sort of stay grounded, but also have that energy to continue to move. Things that people can do at their desk, right? Because so many people are on phone calls and sometimes they are back to back. Are there things that between those breaks of, okay, I've got another phone call, let me stand up and stretch, that you can do that are maybe either slight movements while they're sitting, things that they can do with their feet? I know that sometimes I get antsy. So my legs are going underneath the table, right? What are some other options that people can do for movement?
And you're specifically while you're seated?
While you're seated.
Okay. So I love just sitting in my chair and then rounding my shoulders forward and then pulling them back and then rounding them forward and pulling them back. So that will really stretch out the upper extremities and your shoulder. Also open up your chest because we're kind of like this all day long.
Yes.
Then another is side bending. Side bending is really great to open up the side waist and to really just add a little flow, just going side by side. And then with the legs, you can just bend and straighten. You can't see me right now, but I'm lifting up my leg and I'm just straightening my leg and bending, straightening and bending. And then ankle rolls, ankle and wrist rolls.
Gotcha.
Just doing little things like that just to keep the movement going. You can shake out your hands, stretch this or pulling them down.
Right.
Getting up and doing push-ups off your desk. That's a good one.
Oh. I'm I've done push-ups off my wall just so I can get a quick couple of 20 in.
So the best way of doing push-ups, and people ask me all the time, is it okay to do modified push-ups over a standard push-ups? I don't call them girly and boy push-ups. I think those are ridiculous names.
Yes.
I don't teach modified push-ups, and here's why. When you're teaching a standard push-up, you're pushing your own body weight up. When you're teaching a modified push-up, the angle is different. So you're really decreasing the amount of body weight you're pushing up off the floor.
Correct.
So instead of doing a modified push-up, I do teach them off the wall first, and then we decrease the angle. So what we're doing is, if you're on the floor, you raise the floor up by going on blocks, going on an ottoman, on your couch, or a a coffee table. So you're elevating the surface and the platform so that you can slowly begin to start doing a standard push-up.
Got it.
And that will build more confidence and more strength, as opposed to it'll take you so much longer to go from a modified push-up to a standard push-up than if you just slowly decreased the angle, going from your wall to your kitchen counter to a coffee table to a couch to a floor.
And that's funny because I used to do that. I think when I first started doing push-ups, well, I've done it both ways, and it wasn't because I knew any better. I think my body knew what was better for me, right? Because I think when I first started working out, at one point it was I went from the wall to the floor, right? That's kind of sort of how I built up, and then I moved from the modified push-up and being able to do, right? Like at one point I used to be able to do 100 of those.
Wow.
Yeah, and never in my wildest dreams. I would say thank you, Dwayne, because he got me there.
Nice.
But it's you realize what's going on with your body, and I think if people are start to be in tune with their body, I think, which is the other thing that a lot of people start to feel now that we're home. You feel what's going on with your body more because there's nothing else going around you, right? I mean, you do have your kids and all of that, and if you've got a family, there's all of that extra noise that's around you. But I know for me, I just feel different being home all day, right? My body feels very, very different, which is why I try and get out. But, looking at, how do I change that? How do I make sure that I include some type of movement, even if it's stretching? I know that you had a yoga class this morning, and I am so sorry that I missed it. Like, that's what I get for 3 hours of sleep the night before or 2 nights before and just crashing last night. But, I think that's the other thing is people's sleep patterns have changed, right?
Yes.
Their work patterns have changed, and that starts to weigh on you as well. Which is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this class, or not even a class, but this session and this interview with you, is because your body goes through so many changes and there's so many stressors that are going on, like emotionally, physically, right? Like what's going on in the world, what's going on in your home, all the people that you now have around you that you didn't have around you before, right? Like we all love our families. We've never thought that we would be involved in our family's lives 24/7, even if you have kids, even if you have a husband that you love or a wife that you love or a partner that you're with. You didn't expect to spend this much time with them.
We took for granted breaks, didn't we?
We did. We
really 8 hours at school and 8 hours at work.
Right. And just having those boundaries. And so to me, I think physical movement, physical exercise, all of that is a really great way to release that stress. I know for me, I was going to physical therapy before this happened. And I mean, those sessions were just a half an hour because I was having issues with my lower back. But just those sessions alone of like 2 half-an-hour sessions a week made a world of a difference. Not seeing my physical therapist, I'm like, oh, I miss you. I mean, I could still do those exercises on my own. We're working on that. But just that movement and that process, does make a world of a difference. So we talked about movement. I want to talk a little bit about, right, nutrition. Huge, right? Some people are like, oh, I'm going to get my diet together. Other people are like, we were home, grocery shopping went up. People have been shopping like, it's Super Bowl weekend every single week. Right?
Yes.
And diets have changed drastically for good or worse. Or good or bad. But, what are some things to like kind of sort of consider while we're home, right? Like what do we, I've tried to get back to being a full-time vegan. I kind of sort of strayed that path over the last year. And a lot of that had to do with stress and family and all of that for me. And, being kind of sort of mindful of, okay, wait, we've got to dial that back. And I'm starting to feel it in my body. But looking at, okay, now that we've been home and you said, oh, okay, well, we can eat like this for the first 2 weeks. And then it became 3 and then it became 4. Now we're at 8. Right? How do we get back on track? How do you say to people, start to look at what you're eating or how you're eating? What are those little things that people can do to kind of sort of move back to getting back on track?
You said something really pinnacle, and I think this is important for people to know, is really getting familiar with your body. Now that we're home, we're really aware of what's making our body feel a certain way, whether it's achy, tired, or maybe you feel good. Now is the time to really nourish yourself from a mind-body perspective. We do have a lot more on our plates, but we also do have the time to just take a step back. And we did have those first 2 weeks of, listen, we all went through it. Like, let's party and let's get some more wine. And we go through all of those emotions, right, of anger and anxiety and denial. And now we're at that acceptance point. Now we really have to just take action on how can we give back to our bodies? Because our bodies will function. They know how to function well, but they also know how to function really badly. So then do you want to be on? Your body will react to whatever you put inside. So however you want your body to react is how you're going to fuel yourself. And when I'm fueling, and I say fuel because I don't call food good or bad, because I don't give food a personality, just like I don't give the scale a personality.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to step on the scale and be like, I see a bad number. Oh God, I feel so depressed. Oh God, what did I do to myself? Why? I don't want to go down that road. And on the flip side, if I see a good number, I don't want it to be, it's the best day of my life. I don't want to give the scale that much power. But I also don't want to give food that much power. And I take the emotional components out of food and I say, what foods are going to give me the nourishment that I need to feel good and to have a energized day and to have clarity and focus so that I can have energy for my kids, have energy for my family, have energy for my work and my job, and then so I can sleep better, so I can feel better in my clothes and in my skin. And this is really what it's all about. Vanity will get you the motivation you need sometimes if you're trying to get into a nice shirt or dress, but that shouldn't be the only motivation. It should be, why do I want to fuel my body? Why do I want to feel good? What's the purpose?
But
It's because you age well.
Right.
Go ahead.
But how do you do that for those people who don't know, right? Like I've just, right, while it may not look it now, but at one point in time, right, I was an athlete. I know my body well enough to say this is or isn't working for me, or to say, you know what, I'm quite okay where I am now, and kind of sort of keep moving and pushing past that. But for those people who aren't sure, right, who don't know what their body needs or wants, right? Like I can tell you for sure when my body wants vegetables or I've been eating too much junk, like it'll switch and I know what I start to crave. But how, when you don't know what that is, when you don't know you need more vegetables or you need, more protein and not even meat, right? Because I think a lot of people associate protein with meat and that's not the case. How do you start to decipher what that is, right? If your body's craving salt, like or sugar, like other than the emotional stressors in your life, right? How can you tell what to feed it?
Definitely physical. If your body's feeling really lethargic and you're not sleeping well, something is off. So I always tell clients to track what they're eating. And if they're tracking their food and they notice, okay, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I snacked more. And I was eating a lot more bagged and boxed chips and snacky type foods. Well, those foods, they don't have a lot of nutrients. I'm not saying don't ever eat that food, but don't make that the primary fuel that you're eating. On the flip side, if your body is being fueled with fruits and vegetables and you can feel what your body is going through when you're eating certain things. Now, some people can't feel this because they've never really felt what it feels like to really nourish.
Right.
But if you can just take a step back, journal, like, okay, so the last couple of nights I didn't sleep well. All right, well, let's see what happened the last few nights. What happened? Maybe I went to bed too late. Maybe I ate at 10 o'clock at night and it caused me to stay up, or it caused me to go to the bathroom 3 or 4 times at night, or it caused me to have nightmares, or it caused me to have fatigue the next day. I think we just have to be more in tune with correlating what your body experienced, aka a poor restless sleep night or lack of focus. Maybe you were very lethargic the next day. Maybe your body felt really heavy. And then correlate that to, okay, well, what happened the last few nights? What did I do? What did I do the last few days?
Right.
Did I sleep in too much? Did I not have enough water? Most people just don't have enough water.
Yeah.
And it's upping the ante on the hydration.
And that's,
and just being more susceptible.
No, for sure. I think it's, for me, what's clear is, and when I went vegan and everybody asked me, they're like, oh, well, how long have you been vegan or why'd you go vegan? And it just became a process. There wasn't some aha moment like, the sky opened up and I wanted to be vegan.
Right.
My church had actually gone through what was called the Daniel fast, which is essentially a vegan type fast, for Lent. Right. And so it was nothing, you couldn't eat processed foods. You couldn't have sugar. So like no sugar in your tea, your coffee, any of that. You couldn't have coffee or tea. You only could drink water. And so we did that for 40 days. And so when I got through with that process, it was like, okay, like, let me go back to, I was like, do I stick this way? Because I felt so much better.
I was going to ask how you feel.
Yeah, I felt so much better. I had some more energy. I can't say that I wouldn't say I had tons more energy, but I just felt better. What was interesting was that first week I had like a little bit of chicken, every other night or something like that. I worked in retail, right? So I worked in the fashion industry. I'm on my feet all day. I'm running around. My body didn't feel tired, but I'd wake up in the morning achy. And for me, it was, I'm on my feet all day, no big deal.
Right.
Going through that process, I didn't start to notice that I was feeling better until I went back to eating what I was eating before and started to feel worse. So that first week that I started to eat a little bit of chicken and I woke up, I literally got out of bed the end of the week, got out of bed, and as soon as I put my feet on the ground, my body said no. Like all of my joints, all of my muscles were inflamed. I was in so much pain.
Yeah.
Realized, I'm like, oh, it's not because I'm in retail. Right? It's not because I stand on my feet. It's because you're eating the meat, and in the meats, unfortunately, right, there's antibiotics and hormones and all of that stuff. And I tell people this now, like if you're gonna eat and you're gonna eat meat, eat it clean. Because the other thing that was, part of my life is my family's I come from a mixed background, right? My mother's West Indian, my father's from the South. My father was a hunter. I ate game meat all of my life, like goat, deer, rabbit, squirrel. Not tons of beef, right? But definitely chicken. And, when I eat clearly chicken, right, because of what it is and what's pumped with it, my body just reacts to it, right? Like I know now if I eat something or if I had, like, so I cut out dairy, which is hence how I got to go to be vegan. And then, life hits and stressors hit and all of that. And, sometimes you happen to go back to the way you used to eat. And my body's now back to that place where I'm like, okay, wait, nope, we've got to clean this out again because I know my body well enough to know the difference and to feel the difference. And that's what I tell people is that, just be mindful of like how you're eating. And you don't know until you start to eat differently.
Right.
Exactly. At least for me that like, I'm like, oh wait, nope, there was a difference. There's a complete difference. This is a little TMI. I'm like, I'm going to put myself out there. But, right, even having meat now, if I eat too much of it, the hairs on my chin will grow. And I'm like, oh, no. Right. Like when I went vegan, I didn't have that problem. There weren't hormones in my vegetables, right? Like I try and do non-GMO, right? I try and take into account all of those things. I try and do organic. Because all of that stays in our body. And I think, that's a whole other conversation about commercialization and the food industry, because I think there's so much that goes on.
You're really hitting on some good points. And I've always been a very healthy eater, and it's a journey. And I'm not saying that if you don't eat a certain way, then you're wrong or you're a bad person.
Right.
I think everybody has their own timeline for which they do things. Now, I could be way over here in the timeline only because this is my passion. This is my heart. I've studied and educated myself on all this stuff over the last 2 decades.
Right.
So where I'm at is not where I expect my clients to be at. When I instruct them or I teach them, we really start from where they're at. Okay, let's take a look at what you're currently doing. And let's see how we can make just 1 or 2 small additions. And I don't like to say cut out, because I find that when you say cut out to people, it leads to deprivation.
Yes.
And for me, it's more about selection, not deprivation. So I teach them how to select differently and to add in things that are going to benefit them. And we start with 1 or 2 things a week, and we experiment with that over the course of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, until they've developed patterns and habits, and they've started to recognize how these things feel in their bodies. Because, when I work with some clients have forgotten what it feels like to nourish themselves. And they, maybe it's just because it's in the back of their mind because everything else is stressing them out and takes priority. Right. So I take them and I put them on the front burner. And you have to really take your health and put it on the front burner and take it off the back burner. And when you do that, you will start to feel like it's not such a drastic adjustment because you're just chipping away at it.
No, for sure. And as you say that, I mean, let's talk about kind of sort of the mental piece of this, right? Of being at home, um, trying to deal with everything, right? And trying to make sure that you provide for your family, trying to provide yourself, giving yourself the space that you need, setting
Yep.
boundaries. I think it might have been, I think it was Enna yesterday who said she, like her and her daughter had, are staying in the house now, right? And they're there 24/7. They had to create boundaries for themselves because they've never had to share that space in that manner.
Right.
Right. But how do we set those mental boundaries? How do we say, okay, this is work and you do work. This is family. We do family. And maybe it's not that way, right? I'm trying to figure out sometimes the best way to say, hey, we've got to have balance, because I think the other thing is that sometimes people take for granted that time, right? And take for granted your time because they're like, well, you're home. Yes, I'm home, but there's so
Yeah.
many other things that are going on, right? Between work and all these things, that it's actually not giving me extra time, right? To have extra free time. It's giving me more time to do, other things that I have to do or what have you. How do we kind of sort of create that mental space that we need?
I set schedules. I'm a huge proponent on schedules. Now, I'm not crazy about strict schedules because there's always room for flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
But my morning schedule is extremely important to our family and how it functions. And, for me, I always get up before the kids and my husband. Lately, I've been sleeping a little bit because last week was really busy. So I allowed myself some extra sleep. But for the most part, I will set my alarm. I will get up. I will meditate and do some yoga stretching before anyone else gets up. Because if I don't do that, then I don't feel like I've had my time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I set the schedule for the kids. I set their school schedules. We have our lunch schedule. We finish up some of the school stuff, and then we have a lot of free playtime, because I think that's really important too. You have to get out and have playtime. And I don't like to think of my kids' homework as homework. I like to think of it as like fun work, and really just bring the excitement. And I think if you keep the enjoyment and the excitement within your household, then things don't feel so arduous. And I find that we all get very stressed. And listen, we are all in the same ocean, but we are all in different boats. And I get that. And I try not to compare my boat to somebody else's boat, because I think that's really important to understand that we all have different circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
So, it really takes time to sit down and think about, okay, what does your schedule look like on a daily basis? And how can we create some fun in this schedule, but still have a plan?
Right.
Make it structured, but have it be fun and not so stressful.
No, absolutely.
So early mornings, I know there are some, like you're a night owl, so your schedule might be flipped a little bit, but I don't know if there are some early risers out there. I am all for just getting up and getting going, and having that time for yourself, whether it's early in the morning or at night when the kids go to bed. Have that time for yourself, not just binge watching Netflix, although you may want to do it once in a while.
Yeah, binge watching Netflix is one of those necessary evils sometimes, I feel like, right? Like you don't want to think about anything, you just want to watch and just enjoy, and that's it. So once a week.
I watched Black and Blue, this movie on Star, and I was just like, don't anybody talk to me. I just need to zone out and watch a movie. And it was the greatest movie. But I don't sit down and watch TV a lot because I will get sucked in, and then I won't do anything else.
Listen, my cousin is the worst. She'll call me and she'll be like, oh, she's like, well, have you seen this? And she'll give me a rundown on all of these different shows that I should watch. And I'm like, let me just breathe. I'm like, give me a minute. I'm like, I'll catch up, and I'll try and do, and then that's what I'll end up doing. I'll end up binge watching a whole season to catch up. And I'll be like, okay, like, all right, this is the one for the week.
That's what Schitt's Creek, but I had to do all my work and let the kids go to sleep, and then I watched it, and there was like, where's mom? Oh, she's watching Schitt's Creek again. I don't know if you caught that one.
Well, that one she did not bring up. I'm like, there's some, it's funny enough, we've been watching a lot of international television.
Yep.
So shows that are in Africa, shows that are in the UK, like just all over the place. And it's interesting because if you do, is it Netflix? If you do Netflix, if you start to watch from everywhere, it'll bring up other shows from other countries. So it's really interesting. You start to be exposed to more, and it'll suck you in if you're not careful, for sure. But no, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to kind of sort of walk through, some things that we can do, and from a mental perspective, from a physical perspective, from a nutritional perspective. I think, and I said this to you when we were talking earlier today. When I started Honor Your Style, it was really about honoring people as an individual and honoring who you are and where you are. I started Honor You as a company that was to be a lifestyle brand, right? Long term, to talk about honoring your mind, honoring your body, honoring your spirit, because we are so much more than just one thing and just one aspect of our lives. So I want to thank you so much for sharing. And I look forward to, doing some more of these together.
When I saw what the title of your company was, it really rang true, because it is about honoring your body and honoring who you are as a person and not losing sight of that. My girlfriend did a post today about how, it's selfish to put yourself first as a mother, and you should always put your kids first. And I had to respond to her, because it really was like, no, it's selfless to put yourself first, because if you're not healthy and you're not caring for yourself, how can you be that role model for your kids?
Right.
Now, I'm not saying like totally disregard your kids, whatever,
right.
But I'm saying you have to put your mask on first, right? The airline analogy, or you can put it on somebody else, because you need to take care of yourself first. Because if you're lying in your bed and you're ill, how are you going to be there for your family? So, honoring your style and honoring yourself, it's so true. So thank you so much. I mean, this has been really great. I love these kinds of conversations.
Good. I'm glad. Well, thank you so much. I'm so happy that we got brought together from the conference.
I know. This is great.
Awesome. And then next time I'm in Boston, right? I definitely have to come up that way. So let's talk to people about how they can find you, how they can see you, work with you, because you are based in Boston, but you also do virtual online classes, right? And training. So let's talk a little bit about that before you head out.
So I do have a website, TaraMazanec.com. It's under construction right now, but I offer a system where you are working with a health action calendar. So it actually guides you through each month on taking different action steps. In addition, I have an ebook. Also, I'm building a system where I'm going to be doing group coaching with training, and I do virtual training online as well. So you can find me on Instagram at Tara Mazanec, or Facebook, Tara Mazanec-TM Systems. That's my business page. Or you can just put in my first and last name for my homepage.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Tara. Thank you, everybody, for coming and joining in today. We appreciate you. We love you. Be well, be safe, be healthy, stay healthy. And remember, honor you, honor your style. Thank you. All right.